Scrappin with Sheri. I'm excited to do project recipe number 8 today in our sketchbook because I think this may be the one that I actually follow the directions on. I know that shocks you. I'm not sick. It's just that when I looked at this sketch, I think it's going to work for what I have in mind. So let's look at what it needs. We need 3 pieces of paper. One is going to be a border, some mats, and then some little strips. Those are the orange pieces. So the little borders here, strips, a big mat, and then smaller mats here. One is going to be a big designer paper where you're going to use a big part and a strip and a circle. That's the blue. So we've got this big part, a little strip right here, and then this circle. And then the third part is going to be little strips. Let's see, NOPQ. Those are going to be border strips, and then a couple of bigger pieces. And that's the green here, here, and then here and here. So it tells us to use 2 sheets of designer paper for the base. I'm going to be using this from the Adventure Parks collection. It's a little busy, and I will tell you right now, I'll probably flip it at some point. But I was kind of trying to line up the stripes as best I could. And this is as close as I can get. But when it's in my album separated a little bit, it's going to be fine. So those are my backgrounds. I'm going to slide those out of the way. For the first piece, which has our punched border and some mats and then just tiny strips, instead of a designer paper, I decided I am going to use a piece of black cardstock for that. This designer paper 2, where we've got the circles and this piece right here, I'm going to use this blue right here, which is great because the diagram shows it in blue. And then for all of these orangey pieces, no, all the green pieces, I'll be using this red paper. And this blue came from the Showtime collection. This red, I think, came from Adventure Parks as well, but I'm not positive. So let's get to cutting and see what we can do. Now, when I look at my cutting guides, the first thing that shows me on black is to punch 2 borders. Now, I did cheat on this because I don't have this border punch, but a friend of mine did. This is called the Fairgrounds punch, the Fairgrounds border punch. And since I didn't have it, she punched a couple for me. So that is pre-done. I have my borders already. But let's pull out our 12-inch trimmer and cut the rest of this. So you can see the 2 borders, and then there are 2 tiny, tiny little strips. Those are 1/4 of an inch, and that 1/4 of an inch is going to be right here on the edge of your gray mat. So we're just going to go to that 1/4 inch and cut one more. We've got those 2 strips. Then we need a 4.5 width. These are going to be the mats for those little photos in the middle. So we've got the 4.5 width, and we need them 3 3/4. And we're cutting 3 of those. All right. And then there are several other little bitty pieces. We've got a 1/2 inch, and then, let's see, a 1/2 and a 1/2. So remember, our 1/2 inch mark is the first line to the right side of your cutting mat. We need a 1/2 and one more 1/2. And then we need a 3/4 inch. Now that 3/4 inch is in line with the number 2 mark, the little bitty 2 centimeters. That 3/4 inch is right above it. And we've got to cut these down to make them a little bit shorter. So these 2 1/2 inch ones are going to be 8 3/4. They're going to be 8 3/4 long. So if we cut off 3 1/4, I'm just doing my backwards mom math. Those will be 8 3/4. And then this 3/4 inch one needs to be 6 1/2. So if we take off 5 1/2, we've got that. Oh, that's the part I took off. All right. So the black paper is done. Our designer paper number 2, that's going to be my blue paper. And let me look at the direction on this because it shows cutting sideways, and that blue paper is going sideways. Good. So I want these diamonds to go up. So I'm going to turn my paper this way in my trimmer so that when I pull it back out, these diamond shapes are going up. And this one is going to be a 6.5 piece. So here again, I can cut off 5.5 here. That leaves me my 6.5 inch piece. And then this area on the end, we're going to cut at 1.5. Your 1.5 is almost in line with the number 4 centimeter. So we've got those 2 pieces. Now I'm going to pull my circle cutter out in just a minute. I'm not going to cut it just yet. And we're going to go ahead and cut our last designer paper. This one is not directional. The directions go all over the place. So on here, I need 4 strips that are 3/4 by 12. Remember, the 3/4 is right above the 2 centimeters. And I need 4 of these. And then our next part, and really the last cutting part, is going to be a 5 width. So let's go to our 5 and chop that. This is excess. And when we turn it, we're going to cut 1 3/4 off the bottom. Now I'm going to do my 1 3/4 this way, and it's just kind of halfway between the 4 and the 5 on your centimeter mark. 1 3/4. And we've got all the cutting done except for our circles. So let's get our circle maker and do that. Now, how do we know what size circle to cut? Let's flip back over to our instructions here. And it says for piece M, use the outside of the medium custom cutting system circle pattern with the red blade to cut 1 circle. So here's my mat. Our custom cutting system circles have 3 pieces, and it says use the medium, so that'll be this one. And it tells me I'm cutting that on the outside with the red blade. So we're just going to put our circle pattern on there. Make sure the prongs go in the holes on the outside edge. And we've got our circle cut. And it tells us we're going to cut that in 2 pieces. And it says, let's see, cut the circle about 1/3 of the way through. So, chop. And I am going to try to keep my little diamonds on there kind of lined up. They probably won't be perfect. If you have directional paper, you need to make sure that you look at that, because the smaller part's going to be here, and then the larger part will be on the top. So you want to make sure that you're cutting it in a way that that's going to look right if you're specifically directional. Not quite 1/3, but close enough, right? All right, let's lay these 2 pages out. So I'm going back to pull my background paper. There are a lot of little parts and pieces to this. I hope we don't lose any of them. So here are my background pages. And the punched border is actually this little orangey strip right here. So I'm going to go ahead and put these punched borders down near the bottom. Now when I cut the green, that was actually my red paper. So I need to find all my strips for my reds. Green is red. That's probably the hardest part if you're not using the same paper pack, is making the correlation between what paper colors or what papers, and sometimes that gets a little bit confusing. I know these are going down here. I'm probably going to cut off or cover up a little of that black because it's a little bit too much for me. And then this is going to go back here and over here. Although that's not looking, oh, I'm looking at the green. The green's what I'm supposed to be looking at. See, I'm already confused. That's going to go there and there. All right, now let's look at the orange stuff is what I cut out of black. So let's pull those parts and pieces out. There's going to be 3 mats right here. One of those does go off. There's going to be 2 of these here. And then 1 of these over here. And then the last part is our blue. Our blue is going to be a big piece right here with this on top of it. Fortunately, we don't have a lot of blue to deal with. That makes it a little bit easier. This up here, this down here, and then this strip right there under those. All right, so we got it all laid out. Now we just got to tape it. To go over the top of this blue so that my black strips are long enough to go to the edge of it. There we go. Now you can see the longest part of this video is actually taping all this stuff down because boy, that took a while. You can tell my black is a little bit long here and here. I'll trim those off in a few minutes, but I wanted to go ahead and add my mats. Are you shocked that this looks so much like the sketch? I am. But when I saw the sketch, I knew immediately what pictures I needed to use. And no, we did not go to Disney World. So don't get too excited that this is a Disney page. But how cute would it be for a Disney page if you went to Disney World? You'll probably laugh at my pictures, but this is part of the travel album that I've been working on when we went to Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York. And as soon as we went to this little event, I knew exactly what punch I was going to use. In fact, right after we got home, I contacted my friend and I said, oh, I need a couple of the fairground punches in black. Can you handle that for me? So she did. I'm respacing these just a little bit just to get it a little more uniform. But as we were making our drive, we ran across a little small town that was having a festival. It was the second weekend of September in Silver Creek, New York, and it was called the Festival of Grapes. Now, who would not want to stop in at the Festival of Grapes? We decided that we would, just to see what was going on. Our little town, our town is tiny, so we have a little festival too. This one was really small. It was cute. They had little booths set up. They had little carnival type rides. Kids were having a blast. It was on a Sunday afternoon that we were through there. And they actually had a Festival of Grapes parade. So how cool is that? So we got to see this cute little festival. You know, we are not from New York. We didn't understand the importance of this guy, but he was apparently a Buffalo Bill. And it was just a cute little parade. They had cars, they had wagons, they had tractors, they had all kinds of big equipment in it. But it was just a cute little thing. My favorite part of it was this giant bag of kettle corn that I bought that I ate on for several days while we were traveling. But it was a nice little stop on the way to our destination. You know, sometimes you got to enjoy the journey, not just the destination. And we did. This was a fun little place. I will do a little bit of journaling about this, and I'm not sure exactly where I'll put that yet. Probably over here, because I did go down a little bit more because my circles were a little bit bigger. You can tell my pictures are not exactly the right size because they are hanging off the bottom. This one and this one will. I'm okay with that. That doesn't really bother me. The one in the middle was a little bit better. They had the Keystone Cops, and you've got to be of a certain age to realize who those are, but they were so funny. Very few of the parade floats, I use that in quotes, had anything to do with grapes. This one did, so I had to get a picture of it. But most of them were just ambulances and fire trucks and people from the town on their little tractors and stuff. So that's really the gist of this sketch. We've done everything except our journaling and a few little embellishments. I don't have a lot of embellishments to go with this. So I've pulled this one because it says parade, and I thought that was kind of cute. It does match this that I've got going on right here. I pulled this one that says fun because I thought, hey, it was fun. We had a good time. And I did find this little journaling box. I just put, we stumbled on this small town festival. Not a lot to say there, but I could add that in several different places. In fact, I think I may want to add it right there just because it sets it apart from the stripes that are below. The parade is actually over there, but I could do parade and fun here together, and I think that's what I'll do. So let's just tape these down. I kind of want it to the side. I have a hard time with things being too centered sometimes, and maybe stick parade over there with that. Yeah, I'm going to pull a foam square. This one is an embellishment, so just a regular foam square works for that. Yeah, I think that's a lot prettier than what I had in mine initially. And then we're going to use our anti-stick tool on this. And the foam square for that. And I think we'll be done. I had said I might do journaling over here, and I may still add something about the kettle corn. Maybe not. This didn't really warrant 2 pages, but boy, it turned out really cute. All right. So there we go. That is project recipe number 8. I did it almost exactly according to the sketch, except my pictures were just a touch bigger here. But man, that's a cute page. That's a cute layout. We did use 3 papers. I did make all the cuts except for the border, which was pre-cut for me, but I did do a border there. So project recipe number 8 on page 20 is done. And until I see you next time, happy scrapping.